Right now on Denver 7 News at 4, they've spent months interviewing more than 1,000 people and collecting evidence. Now the House January 6th panel is ready to reveal their findings. We get a preview of tonight's primetime hearing.
Acceptance around taking a mental health day from work is growing. What's driving the change and how to go about asking your boss for that day off. And warming temperatures could now be impacting some species' genders. We're looking into what can be done to restore the balance short of stopping climate change.
Plus, the only source of transportation taken from a therapeutic riding group, how you can step in and help. Thanks so much for joining us for Denver 7 News at 4. I'm Jason Grenauer. Starting with breaking news this afternoon, police in Maryland say 3 people are dead and 1 other person is injured after a shooting near Smithsburg. That's about 70 miles northwest of Washington, D.C. Police say gunshots were exchanged between the suspect and a trooper. Both were injured and transported for medical treatment. Now, tonight in primetime, the first public hearings of the January 6th committee will take place in Washington. The group was formed last summer after the attack at the Capitol while Congress was trying to certify the 2020 election results. So what can you expect tonight, and will we learn anything new? Joe St. George explains from Capitol Hill.
Does this wall mean anything to you? Probably not. Why would it? But history certainly remembers this wall. After all, men and women from around the country climbed it so they could try and enter the Capitol and prevent the presidency of Joe Biden. That was back on January 6, 2021. And while you may have moved on from that day, a committee here in Washington hasn't. For the past 10 months, they've been investigating January 6th, and tonight they'll begin to report their findings to the public. So what can you expect in this hearing? By now, the photos and the videos all somewhat look the same, but the committee is promising to release previously unseen material that documents just how terrifying that day was for so many. The previous president of ABC News has been hired to help produce the made-for-television primetime event. As a reminder, that day forced former Vice President Mike Pence to be rushed to a secure location. Speaker Nancy Pelosi was evacuated entirely from the Capitol over safety threats. 4 rioters died in the assault, including Ashley Babbitt, who was shot and killed by Capitol Police when she attempted to enter a secure area. 5 Capitol police officers died in the days following, too, either from health complications or suicide. The Justice Department has charged close to 900 Americans so far for being involved in some way with January 6th. The hearing is happening behind these committee room doors, and while it will feature some new information, it will largely be a summary of the investigation so far. New testimony will occur tonight from individuals who will say the riot was not as spontaneous as you may have thought, including testimony from a filmmaker who had been following some rioters for weeks prior to January 6th. The committee will also outline their plan for future public hearings, with a final report expected by the group in September. Remember, though, this committee cannot charge anyone. All they can do is refer individuals to the Justice Department for possible prosecution. The committee has conducted over 1,000 interviews over the course of the last 10 months, including with some members of former President Trump's family. Some of that was videotaped and could be played this evening. Don't forget, though, that many conservatives believe the committee's investigation has become too partisan. There are only 2 Republicans on the committee, and both voted to impeach former President Trump. Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has said the committee is simply going after political foes. Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik of New York has called their work illegitimate, and some conservative media outlets have decided to not broadcast the hearing tonight as a result. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
Now, as you heard Joe mention, nearly 900 people have been charged in connection to that insurrection. At least a dozen of those are from Colorado. Jacob Clark from Trinidad is going to trial. His charges include violent entry into the Capitol. Thomas Hamner of Peyton pleaded guilty and will be sentenced in September. Former Olympic swimmer Cleet Keller of Colorado Springs pleaded guilty last year. He could spend up to 2 years in prison. Now, you'll be able to watch the hearing live right here on Denver 7. Coverage starts at 6 tonight. You can watch Denver 7 News at 6 on Denver 7 Plus, our app, and on thedenverchannel.com. Staff members at the Colorado Therapeutic Riding Center in Longmont are in desperate need of a truck after someone stole the only one they had last month. Well, that truck, a 1999 Ford F-250, was seen here, and it was taken from the Home 2 Suites Hotel on South Sherman Street back on May 26th. The center uses the truck to transport horses to and from the ranch, but more importantly, it's also used to evacuate those horses in case of a wildfire. Executive Director Michelle Brune says without that truck, their situation is dire.
We need help really desperately for the health and welfare of our horses. That in turn goes to the health and welfare of our riders who are already here seeking therapeutic services, and then the safety and well-being of all of our staff and volunteers if anything happened.
Brune says insurance is only giving them $12,000 for the truck. They need a lot more money to buy one that fits their exact needs. So we've started a Denver 7 Gives campaign for that center. If you'd like to donate, go to our website and click on the Denver 7 Gives tab.
Pediatricians and states are securing COVID-19 vaccines for the youngest children. Meetings to talk about approving shots for kids under the age of 5 are happening next week. There are some 5 million doses available. Right now, less than half of that's been ordered. It's not clear how popular these shots will be. It's important to note that there is a recent survey that found only 1 in 5 parents of young children would get their kids vaccinated right away. Now, the White House has released more plans on who it will give the vaccines to beyond just pediatricians. For families without a regular doctor, they'll be able to find shots at children's hospitals and health systems. State and local public health clinics, pharmacies will be more limited for this age group. The administration also plans to ensure vaccine providers extend hours to evenings and on weekends. Now, the pandemic has made so many of us more aware of our mental health. Pre-pandemic, just under half of Americans say they would have taken a mental health day from work. Now 65% of workers say they would take one. This is according to LinkedIn. Gen Z and millennials are the most likely to do it, but even 40% of baby boomers say they are now open to it. A third of workers say they would benefit from a mental health day each month. 15% said they would like one every week.
I think it's too soon to tell to see if it's something that we're going to go down to a 4-day work week. But certainly when you look at today's workforce, they're certainly open and demanding having more of a work-life balance than maybe they used to be accustomed to.
Work experts say there is a larger shift. People feel more comfortable talking about personal life matters in a professional setting. A quarter say it's more acceptable to show emotion at work than before the pandemic. Now, if you want to take a mental health day at work, know that you don't have to disclose a lot of information to your manager.
In those conversations, you really want to find what you're most comfortable with. And you want to really think through what do you want to get out of those conversations? Are you looking for 1 day off? Do you want to take an extended time off? Do you need increased benefits to support you in those areas? So you want to go into those conversations with that goal.
Also, make sure having that conversation with your boss isn't adding more stress. Work experts do say if you're struggling to bring it up, it might be time to look for another company that can better support you in the way that you need. Now, for employers investing in mental health programs, it is paying off. New medical research published today looked at if these benefits actually help, and it found that employees who participated reported lower levels of depression and anxiety at the end of recommended treatments. In terms of cost to the company, the research found that the programs actually provided a return on investment because employees enrolled missed fewer days and had fewer unproductive days, and they were also more likely to stay with the company. Now, as we wait on the Supreme Court's final ruling on abortion, doctors are already preparing for the possible impacts. Why they're worried about a disproportionate impact, particularly on Black women.
Plus, keeping kids safe with just the push of a button. The specialized security system one Colorado school district is using to protect against school threats.